Looks like it's time to exercise some decade-old batteries from Galvatron's rusty innards. Oh, so sad.
Ho 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 and Happy New Year. Yeah, I've been itching to get in front of the camera since Christmas and show you all my lovely things and talk about them and hopefully do a few reviews of some of the stuff I've got. But what with still being in the throes of a pretty bad cold, which you can probably hear, I just haven't really felt in tip-top condition to be doing so. So now I present to you this sort of New Year-y, let's have a look at what I got for Christmas video. Yippee. I shall start off with things which I assume you already know about, and then trail away into the more surprise regions of my giftings. And let's have a look at some spy changers. We've got Sideburn, who is a very, very nice looking car. I really like that car mode. I suppose it's a Corvette by the look of it. But it's all shiny and it's painted so nicely. That is just lovely. And of course he comes with Daytonus as well. That's this lovely race car. I really like the sort of shiny, flaky metallic paint they've put on the windows there. There's one thing you can't fault spy changers for, it's how they're painted, because they just look excellent. I'm just going to quickly transform Daytonus because there's something I want to show you. Now, the first thing is, his chesty bit doesn't sit flat on his chest, and I don't know if that's something wrong with mine, but it generally just looks like this hinge piece is too short to let it do so. And another thing is, he hasn't really got any feet, and he cannot stand up whatsoever because he is just so chest heavy. Yeah. And then of course we have X-Brawn, who is similarly nicely painted with all this metallic green on the back there. And as a nice touch, he retains his amazingly huge arm that the normal figure would have. That is completely disproportionate and actually weighs him over to one side if you try and stand him up. But I like him, he's interesting, a different sort of bot. Then finally we have Scourge, the lovely black and teal striped truck he is. I can't get enough of this metallic teal on there, that's lovely. And you've got a nice Decepticon symbol on there, which the camera isn't really picking up. But the one thing that irks me slightly about this guy is the fact that once you transformed him, he is very small for a spy changer. He's very, very little. Smaller than most Legends figures and more akin to a slightly large Minicon, I think. Yeah, but again, look at all that teal, it's all shiny and he just looks nice. But, fun fact, this is the only Decepticon spy changer, so it's nice to have in that respect. Now moving on to larger and much, much nicer things. We have Fall of Cybertron Starscream. Yes, look at this. Oh, it's nice, isn't it nice? Now, all of the Fall of Cybertron figures, which I got for Christmas, because there are more, which you'll see in a moment, they are all, well, sort of stuff that should be 2013 stock, I imagine. They're not in very many shops in America, and they're certainly not going to be over here, you know, anywhere this side of March. So, it's just nice to see that they are actually slightly better than like the first wave stuff. Definitely. I mean, for a start, they've all got massive guns, and Starscream here has this nice spinning double-barreled neutron assault rifle, which is rather accurate to the game if you have a look at it. Which you can split in half and have him hold each half of it or plug it into his arms, which I have heard makes the arms crack quite badly, so stay away from that. I haven't tried that. But why would you have that when you've got a game-accurate gun? Just leave it like that. That's what it's meant to look like. Starscream himself, though, is a very nice figure. Really poseable. Doesn't actually have any ball joints on him. It's all like pin joints and just universal joints that make him really nice and sturdy. Plastic doesn't really feel cheap. Feels good. Feels like he's got enough paint on him. Feels like he's got, you know, as much paint as he should have, really. It's just a very nice representation of Starscream from the game, and also Starscream in the RID comics. So it's nice to sort of have a representation that sort of does double time with that sort of thing. The light piping is insane, and I can't wait for this to be baked into Thundercracker. Enough said. Next we have Kickback, who is just a beaut. Look at this. Look at all that gold. This is a very nice figure. Very nice. Very nice. Even with his really sort of oversized gear shredder he's got here. Which really pathetically fires that disc out of it. Now, I'm all for bigger weapons with my Fall of Cybertron figures, especially when they're game accurate, but this thing is far too big. It really shouldn't be this big, and I can only imagine they made it this big because if they made it any smaller, the disc would look a lot like a sweetie and people might like to eat it. I don't know. But then when you're supposed to put these wing blade purpley bits on it, because there's nowhere for them to go in robot mode unless you have him hold them as blades and then not hold the giant thing, you make it look even bigger and it just ends up looking a bit like it might be able to fly itself. So that's all well and good and very nice, but maybe a bit too much of much too much. Kickback himself is just amazing. I mean, I love the design of this guy in the game. As soon as I looked at it, I thought, oh, it's going to be so good as a toy. Look at these legs. He's got gigantic, lovely knee joints, and his feet will go everywhere. He's got ankle tilt and up and down and everything. The legs just look really good, and they're covered in all the buggly spikes. The torso is suitably pointy and shiny at the same time. He's got a little bit of a Viacon-esque face. I would have preferred him without the mouth plate, maybe, but there we go. He just looks really good and really accurate, even down to the fact that yes, he's got these bug legs hanging off the back there, but even the in-game model has that, so really he hasn't got any kibble. It's just most excellent, and I want to do a review because there's just things I want to talk about in more depth and show you with more sort of clarity through a bit of a better piece of camera work. Now on to some things which I did mention in my last video that I'd ordered, but I had to cut it out because I thought it was just waffling and took up too much time. It's Cybertron Breakdown, who, well, yes, you might be saying, why have you ordered some more Cybertron cack? When after you got that Recluse thing, you said it was awful and just, these Cybertron figures should be so much better and they're just awful and blah, blah, blah. Well, Recluse has grown on me, and I just thought, I do need more Cybertron figures in my life. So I took a punt on a cheap Breakdown. I got Brush Guard as well, which I will show you momentarily. But yes, yeah, I actually rather like him. Yes, he's got awful, awful hands here. But it's a good design. I think he looks a good, unique robot. I really love his head sculpt and just the overall design. He just ends up looking really sort of modern, with a sort of modern meets the eye sort of look about him. I like it. It's nice, and he's relatively poseable. He's got a waist swivel in there, which is nice for a scout figure. The car mode is a bit whacktacular, but I don't really have any other dragster type cars, so it's good. I only wish he hadn't been called Breakdown so that I can have him sort of interact with other breakdowns I have, because that's just awkward, you know. He has to exist in his own little universe where no other breakdowns exist, because otherwise he's just, oh, he's not Breakdown, is he? He's Breakdown. Yes, of course he comes with this silly key activated, I don't know what this is. The box calls it a racing saber, but it's just an engine block with a wee coloured blade that pops out of it that he would hold like a gun. How does one use such a thing? Answers on a postcard, please. Now on to Brush Guard, who I actually really, really, really like, despite his really awful arms. I mean, there's not a lot you can do with these. The main problem stems from the fact that they are attached to these flaps that make the sides of his sort of Jeep mode, not his actual torso. So they're really, really sort of limited in how you can move them, and it just doesn't look good any way you do it. And I don't like how well, how his arms come off, but I suppose now I can illustrate this to you a bit easier. How his arms are sort of bent like that, but then I assume that joint's meant to be an elbow, but his arm is still... what is this? He's got these really nice Wolverine sort of claws, and he can't use them at all because his arms are so rubbish. So poor old brush guard on that front, but everything else is in very, very nice working order. He's got a really nice waist swivel, and his legs move beautifully, and they're just very nicely shaped. Of course he has got the silly missile jutting straight out of his back because it launches from his chest, but yeah, that's the only sort of downside. And of course it means he can't use it in Jeep mode because, well, there's nowhere for the missile to go. I mean, if anything it would shoot straight out of his windscreen, but it can't do that, so... Turns out, the two Cybertron figures which I've got here, well, they're not Cybertron figures, they're actually Universe ones, they're in Universe packaging, which makes them a lot cheaper than buying proper Cybertron ones, which are really hard to find. But the figures are exactly the same, so what's going on there? Reversal of tangent and stuff. Both of these guys are the only figures I've encountered so far that can't use their cyber key doodads in vehicle mode because, well, for breakdown you can't put the key in there, and for brush guard you put the key in and nothing happens. Slight downsides, but bleh. I want to review this guy because I really do like him a lot more than I was expecting, and I want to show you why and just have an excuse for rolling him around on my desk in front of the camera.
And now onto the pièce de résistance. We have
Fall of Cybertron Soundwave, oh yes.
Oh yes, look at this beast. Look at him. Drink him in. He's ruddy huge, I can tell you that. Loaded with click. Listen to that. Oh yes. It's been a long time.
This is such a good figure. I have high hopes now for the rest of the Fall of Cybertron line and everything in 2013. This is just... oh yes. Now, this was actually the only bot that I didn't buy myself for Christmas. Slightly sad, but it also means that he's the best because, well, you know, he's the only one I really got as a present, so it sort of adds to the excellence. I really don't know where to begin with this figure. I want to do a review, and I know loads of people have already done reviews, but I really want to. All the detailing is just lovely. It doesn't feel like he's missing any paint at all. He's really nicely posable and just so chunky and big and solid. It's so nice to have a proper beefy bot now that just feels really rugged. And more click there. And look, he's got fingers sculpted like he's pressing the eject button, which he actually can do because his arms can get up there. But I'm going to find it a lot easier to just press this button here and show you the magic and have some cyber keys fall out because that's where I've been keeping them, in his chest cavity. So yes, you see in there is Laserbeak, which I can now
laboriously
push out at you, which really doesn't do anything and is a completely underwhelming feature. That is the main thing I want to go over in a review, and I'm probably going to waste that time by telling you about it now because this whole chest feature really isn't as good as it's advertised. I mean, I was expecting you press the button, that flips down, and there would be some sort of spring-loaded thing in here, which meant that this panel was actually like sprung, and so that as soon as that was down and there was a release, it would instantly push forward and push Laserbeak out. But instead, you have to push this giant plunger into his back with extreme force, which I doubt any child could muster, to force this out of his chest. And it doesn't even auto-convert when it does it. The very first time I did this, on Christmas morning, I got Laserbeak stuck in there really bad, and the amount of force which I had to put into this plunger, there's no springs in here at all. There was no mechanism to aid my pushing and the force of this flying out of his chest at all, but it flew halfway across the room because I was pushing it so hard. That was a bit of a disappointment. I was hoping this would be a lot more involved and just work a hell of a lot better, and it just makes me think, why put this spring-loaded swish down thing in there at all when you've got to then be like... So maybe it's just mine, I don't know, but it doesn't work as well as I was hoping. It's a shame that the big gimmick that this whole figure is based on, that you buy the data discs for to cram Rat, Bat and Rumble and Ravage in there, doesn't really work. But it really doesn't detract from what is an excellent figure, because it's Soundwave and you can open his chest up and take people out. Yes, he's auto-convert, but not once you push them out of his chest. You have to press the button and then... Woohoo! I really don't care that it has next to no articulation. It's only like the sprung points that sort of move. It's really cool to just have this thing flip open in your hand like that. You know, that's where the sort of auto-convert stuff that Power Core Combiners had sort of developed. This is what it should be used for. It's good. I can't wait to get my hands on some more discs. I want to get Rat back. And I want to get Rewind as well, just because, of course, it's the only figure we're probably going to get of a Cybertronian sort of Rewind, and closest thing we're going to get to a more than meets the eye sort of figure of him. And that's probably going to make one of my Blaster as well, and then all of his cassette people, and oh dear. I'm going to try and limit myself. But it's very nice to know that when you get Soundwave, you get, which is, well, arguably the best tape character with him. And it's nice, it's a good bird mode. He hasn't actually got any feet or any way to perch on Soundwave, but it looks good, it's Laserbeak, you know? It's cool. I suspect I've waffled on far too long about this glorious thing, but just if you see one, get it. There really is no reason not to. It is just an amazing figure for this day and age. It's a bit of a return to nice sort of old quality with all the ratchets and just the beef of him. And you're not going to be a Soundwave fan, but that really is no excuse for not buying this, because as a Transformer in 2012/2013, it is excellent, and it really isn't something you should miss out on, because I don't think we're going to see something quite so nice representing Soundwave anywhere in the near future. So that's about it. That's all my lovely Christmas robots. Isn't it lovely? Just, oh yes, joyous occasions. There was a small chance that I would have been holding up a Voyager Dreadwing to you as well, because after Christmas I went into Tesco's and found one. But I just was a bit underwhelmed with him and thought, it doesn't really look that great. Maybe it's because I've been spoiled with Soundwave, but I just looked at him and thought, doesn't have enough paint, it's not big enough for a Voyager. Not sure I would have spent 22 quid of my Christmas money on it. So I exercised some self-control, and I walked back to the shelf, put him down, and walked away again. So, you know, maybe I've lost the chance to get that figure anytime soon, but I'm really not bothered, because the stuff I have got right now, it is just, oh, I can't put it down. The Fall of Cybertron stuff especially is just excellent, and I can't wait to see what further waves are going to be like. Really hope they don't just leave it at wave 3 and that'll be that. I can't wait to get a Grimlock, and I just really do hope they make a Thundercracker, and I just want to see more. I want to see what they can do, because they're just phenomenal figures. But yes, that's enough robot chit chat for now. I don't know when I should see you again. So I suppose all that's left to say is,
Whatever knows fear burns at the touch of the man thing.
and have a very happy new year, and I hope 2013 brings you all the loveliness that you wanted to. And I shall see you as I roll into my second year of YouTubing, hopefully with a couple of reviews of some of this Christmas stuff. Toodaloo!